the official rule change, just to be clear. 8 and under tennis is red, you can practice with foam, but the competitive ball is the red ball for 8 and under tennis. Orange ball, novice 10 and under tennis. Novice. Green dot or green ball is for satellite. Now there's 2 types of green dot. There's a double green, 2-tone green, or there's a green dot. And different companies make different balls. And in theory, this is 50% pressure less than a traditional yellow ball. And the green dot is 25% pressure less than the yellow ball. Here's the deal. All green balls are not built alike. From practicality, the gamma double greens play more like an orange, which I like for less skilled players. The true green dot is a higher pressure ball for more advanced players. I even have my 12 and unders play with green dot, and I have my high schoolers play with green dot. The Player Development Center at Carson uses green dot balls for training purposes, so it's not just double greens. Double greens, Gamma makes those, and green dots, Wilson, Penn, a lot of other manufacturers are on board with the green dot. Okay, I like all of them for different purposes. So I don't have a preference per se, what green dot versus green dot, but I do like the double greens for an orange player just moving into green dot ball. It's a little bit slower, and with the older they get, the more they play like an orange ball. Rackets, they come in various sizes. There's paperwork I can give you on how to size a racket to the child. We're going to cover it here, so I don't want to do double coverage. We don't have a ton of time. So there's basically 19, 21, 23, 25, and a full junior racket is 27. So depending on the age of your athlete, you use the appropriate size racket. You want the racket to feel as light in their hand as possible, like a fly swatter, so they can have racket head control and racket head speed. A lot of times kids were given heavy-headed rackets where they're barely able to swing, so hence they have minimal racket head control and very slow swings. All right. Why the rules changed? Basically, in a nutshell, kids were starting to play tennis and quitting, starting between the ages of 6 to 8 and quitting by 10 because it was too hard. We were teaching whole stroke, this is how it has to look, or whatever you're teaching, and by the time the kids get to the ball, it was by them, or they had no idea about contact points. So we were teaching the whole stroke and making them play for 3 to 5 years before they ever got to play a match or a tournament or anything fun. They just went to lessons and clinics. And then, oh, 5 years down the road, you can play a tournament. But now they're not tournament ready, so that was the big problem. So since 10 and under tennis came on board 4 years ago, we've had a 46% retention rate. That's pretty good, but it could be a lot better. Again, this is a similar graph that basically tells you kids pick it up, the height of their sport participation, whether it's soccer or basketball or tennis, is about 12 years old, and then it starts to drop. The true talent and the true lovers of their sports are the ones that continue, and we shouldn't lose that many kids. Whether they're going to be elite athlete, they can still enjoy the game at whatever level they're able to. So we have kids who participate. If you start them young, they will stay with it. So if you introduce your child or your athlete to tennis before the age of 10, preferably by 6 to 8, the chances of staying involved are 100% greater because they've had that early introduction to the sport. Do you guys get this when you take your colored balls out? Well, when are we going to play real tennis, Coach? The real tennis thing? This is real tennis. It's not a race to the green ball or the yellow ball. It is a slow progression. The goal is to excel at every level that you play. And we're going to talk about why it's beneficial for you as a coach, as a teaching pro, as a trainer, as a parent, why you should stay with 10 and under tennis. These are the 3 experts who have been involved in the program. Gary Vicious, I have a sheet for all of you, and it's a resource sheet, and it's based on my experience. How to find equipment, how to get blended lines, how to find coaching tips, who is the best coaching, who gives you the most information. Gary Vicious, he's the founder of the Coaching Minute. Free sign up online for his Coaching Minute. Once a month, he sends you a little ditty on something really amazing, and he brings play back into the sport. Gary's awesome. Dr. Pendrazi I've been to many of his workshops. Basically, he talks about keeping kids involved and not having static stand and line weight programs. And Dan Gould is just a PhD who's done well. Okay, so what are we going to do? Let's get to the meat of this. We're going to kid-size the game by the rackets, by the balls, by the courts. You can play at home, you can play at schools, you can do a lot of different, you can bring tennis to kids in a lot of different ways. So I'm trying to change their perspective. It's not just about the tennis court, it's anywhere. This is still a little bit of party line stuff. Don't use adult models. Basically, wherever I go, when I see kids one kid hitting and 10 kids standing in line, I just want to scream. Because those 9 kids who are watching that one kid play are going to quit. Don't do stand in line and wait. Have kids playing the whole time. So, and rankings, and you're only the best play junior team tennis. Let every kid have a chance to participate. And here's the biggest thing that we're going to talk about today. And hopefully I can get as much in as I can to you. QuickStart tennis, play days, community tennis festivals. Is Jeff Griffin here?
Yeah.
Tennis Fest. We brought Tennis Fest to 300 kids or more. It was awesome, and I know many of the faces in here were involved in that. That was an awesome way. Have a tennis festival. Have an informal event that doesn't lead to a ranking, that doesn't lead to a trophy, that doesn't lead to something that we know as junior tennis. Events like Tennis Fest are awesome, and Jeff does a fabulous job with that, but we can do that in other times of the year. Maybe we could have 3 areas of our San Diego County have a Tennis Fest in your community. Bring kids to your program. All right, so I'm going to tell you, here's the deal. We are the last country to go to 10 and under tennis, the very last country to make any impact. And I did a little research on this morning. ITF, honestly, is Tennis Canada has progressive tennis. A guy named Wayne Elderton. Awesome. Another world-renowned 10 and under expert. I can give you, I have that on a sheet for you to find the website for his information. He does great stuff. Tennis Australia, the ITF has a mini tennis program in Belgium, the Netherlands, Switzerland, France, and Egypt, and many more countries. The USA, we have 10 and under tennis. So we are the last country to bring a reduced size game to kids. Your red court, basically, competitive becomes 4 courts. Jeff has 4 courts lined with blended lines. We'll talk about later how to get that. But if you put blended lines on your courts, you can get 4 competitive 36-foot courts out of it. Orange court is 1, and that brings the baseline in 9 feet, and the sideline in 3 feet for an 8 to 10-year-old average player, or not a satellite player, let's put it that way. Green tennis is the full court using the green dot ball. Court size doesn't change. The rackets and the balls do. And then yellow felt, that's when you're hopefully 12 and older. So the height of the net is smaller for 8s. It grows as the child grows. The rackets get a little bit longer. And now here's the difference. 2 things. One is the scoring format changes. The younger the child, the shorter the games and the shorter the scoring format. So basically you're playing tiebreakers on red tennis. And you could play 1 tiebreaker for beginnings, you could play multiple tiebreakers. Basically, first to 7, and you can say at 6-6 you have a 1-point tiebreak. That's the match. At orange tennis, you can do 2 out of 3 short sets. Does anyone know what a short set is?
Less games.
Sorry?
Less games.
Less games, but how many less games?
4.
Yes, first to 4, no matter what, first to 4. Okay? It's not a total of 4, it's first to 4. That's a short set. And then for green tennis, you can have modified scoring, you can have shorter matches, you can do short sets. You can play 1 set. Green tennis is for 10 to 12s, trying to get them ready to play 2 to 3 sets. You don't throw a beginner into a 2 to 3 set format. It's too much, too soon. They can't concentrate, they don't have the skills, they probably don't have the fitness to do it. And it's not fun. I mean, that's more than they're used to doing. So modifying the scoring for you, the kids, is one way to do it. I'm calling old school anything pre-2006, which is pretty much what we grew up playing tennis. So the difference is 1, 10 and under is a game-based approach. You learn by playing right away. Right away, and I'm going to credit Oscar right now because I've adopted one of his programs, which is the finger through the hole. Every beginner I teach does it Oscar's way. Modern tennis. Put your finger through the hole and grab it. You can't hit in the wrong position. It is impossible to do so. And Oscar is the master at that. Contact to follow through, build your strokes with that. That's the first thing I do on that. So I'm saying game-based. I had a 7-year-old in her first lesson, we hit 52 balls in a row. First lesson, first time ever with this format, forehand only, short distance. I was here, she was about there, and we just did little pop-ups over the net. Set 52 in a row, first lesson. Foam ball, finger through the hole. Ask Oscar about his program, it's awesome. Okay, the way we used to learn is, you got your ready position, got your racket back, you did the whole stroke, and hopefully by the time the ball got to you, you hit it. If you didn't, try again. Good try. But do you hit it here? Do you hit it? Where do you hit the ball? The contact position. 10 and under tennis teaches contact position first. Is it perfect? No. Is it sometimes ugly? Yes. But eventually, your form develops. The shape of your stroke grows. You need contact position first. So, it's game-based with kind of anything goes, learning your having the right grip and learning your contact position versus the whole stroke. Focus on fun. Fun versus drills. Small games with a couple of points, that's fun, versus stand in line, okay, we're going to hit 2 balls cross court, go back to the center, hit 2 backhands cross. No, that's drill and kill. That's not fun. So, that's one of the differences. Athletic skill developers. In old school tennis, we didn't really talk about how to move or how to move a ball or what to do with your racket or how to move while you're bouncing a ball on a racket. Those are things that are athletic skills. It's not necessarily hitting a ball over a net. It's knowing how to handle this thing in your hand, this racket, and making the head feel like your hand. How many of you guys have taught kids who have beautiful strokes but like wooden hands? Have you had that experience where they can hit a ball if it's perfectly hit to them, but if they have to feel it or hit slice or a drop or anything that involves touch, they just wouldn't. There's just no feel because they weren't taught to have feel. 10 and under tennis teaches feel. Athleticism, which means footwork, agility, bouncing a ball, running around the court, ups, downs, sides, whatever you can do. A lot of game-based racquetball activities are the difference between new school and old school. New school. Kids rally and learn at the same time. Now here's the thing that pros have a hard time wrapping their head around. How can I just stand here and watch these kids just look like they're playing jungle ball? That's not I'm getting paid to feed balls. I think we think we're getting paid to feed balls. We're not. We're getting paid to guide, to instruct while they're hitting balls. If they're doing something funky, okay, try this, get your racket, try it. You walk around and correct while they're hitting. If there's a problem, then you fix that problem. But I'm going to specify one thing. When you're working with 5s and 6s, that gets tricky. But because there's a skill level of coordination that's a little, you have to slow it down. You can't just start in game-based, which I can teach another time in another session. But for generally older kids, it's game-based rallies, correct as you go. Rallies are only encouraged in the old school tennis after you've learned the game. Learn how to hit a ball, then you can go play with a friend, then you can go play a match, maybe. And by that time, you haven't learned your contact position, you haven't learned feel, you haven't learned to move on the court. All you know is your coach fed the ball and you hit it perfectly, and when you go and play with your friend, you look like you've never hit a ball, but you've been playing, taking lessons for 3 years. I see that all the time. I see a kid play and they go, I want to come to your class. Okay, how long have you been playing? I've been taking it for 3 years. I go, really? Cool. It looks like 3 weeks, but cool, because they can't adjust to balls that are random, that are funky, that are choppy, that are bloopy. They cannot adjust because they don't know contact position and they don't have hands. And then kids play while the coach guides, basically a coach feed thing. Court size changes, lighter racket changes, different balls for different courts. Your retention rate is twice as great if kids play first while you teach than if you stand them in a line and feed balls. They hit 4 and go to the end of your line. You will keep kids in your program longer.